Welcome back. This is week 3 of the Kill the Coronavirus tying competition. This is the freestyle week. We're trying to encourage you to freestyle your nymphs. This is all nymphs this week. Doesn't matter what you do, use however you want to tie them. But we're encouraging you to freestyle. And we started this out with a caddis that was just a new style for me that I just was just trying. We're trying to just use a creative juices, think of something other than a recipe. Try to do something you've never seen. Just try to completely fabricate a fly from this beginning with a style that maybe you've never tried or never even heard of. And that's what this one here is. This one is this is the Corona Stoner. It really isn't the name. We don't have names for these because this fly started out, I literally, like a lot of flies for me, I'm either bored or something where I'm just like, man, I can't do this one more time. And so I thought, how can I tie something that's never, a method that's never been done? How can I come up with something that I've never seen? I don't know anybody that's done anything like this. And I mean, and for the most part, that's virtually impossible because there's been so many damn flies in the world and then somebody's done this. But you can kind of just stop locking into set a leg and set this and do that and just try to do something fun and different. And sometimes when you do that, you end up with some really cool idea. Sometimes it just turns into a waste of time. I said, not a waste of time because you challenged your brain. But this particular fly, it's really, really cool looking. It fishes well. It's just that it was a concept fly. And that's what we're trying to get you to do with this. And as you can see, I'm going to show you a bunch of them. This is the original one right here. I want to get it a little higher up there so you can see it's what it's made of. And the idea of this, and I know it looks like a bunch of rubber legs, but the way I did it, I've never seen. If somebody's done it, great. I've never seen it. I just tried to do something. And it really isn't the easiest way to tie this fly. I can tie this fly faster differently, but it was a concept. It was like, I'm going to just do this the way I'm going to do it. And so what you're going to see here, and I'm going to go over a couple things about this. This is the original, and you can see it's got, what I was looking for was the rubber, the top of the abdomen was going to be one thing. I wanted the legs too long. I wanted to flop all over. These are anchor flies or they're jig flies, and I'm going to go over that hook thing in a minute. But what you can see here is it's just playing. I was just doing different, it's basically the same thing. I've got a hot spot in all of them, kind of rolling that around. I put Coq de Leon in it just because I thought it was pretty. And you can see the back side of them. This would be the bottom or the belly. This is the original. It's got, a hackle through it because that looks cool to me. It's got a kind of a hot spot, not really, in your face hot spot. It's just a different color. Here's one that's pretty much, right at you. Here's one down here. I mean, that's a true hot spot. This is a weightless one, and because I drop shot a lot. And so I don't want tungsten bead heads as an anchor. I use drop shot a lot. Here you can see the new fire sticks, or fire hole stones, I mean. That matte color, looks really cool against it. Did an orange hackle down here. Totally freestyle, totally going for absolutely nothing I've seen before. It's all synthetic. Here I've got a whole bunch of the same thing, and I'll pick them up and just kind of go through it. And the concept here was, this is a drop shot. This is a big fly, right? This fly is designed, it's a hot spot stone. It's got all the same componentry. Here's one that's on a jig that's got the pink hot spot up front.
Bring that up a bit.
Oh, you should bring that up a little bit. You can see it's all the same things, same idea, the legs coming forward. This is a total anchor fly. I mean, I could throw this thing on a spinning rod. That's a really big tungsten bead in the front. That thing, it'll drop like having 4 split shot on there. Same thing, unweighted for drop shots. Got the vertical jig eye, the 1850 jig eye, and but it's all the same concept with the hot spot. This one's upside down. This is a jig eye too without a bead. Instead of a bead, I put a little bit of peacock herl up front, and this is made to be pulled down like this. it just goes on. They're all the same, tone on tone, hot spot, pink, you know, tone on tone with the bead. It's just total freestyle, not a style I'd ever seen, not the hook done the way it's done. And so that's what we're trying to encourage you to do with this fly. So bringing back, where'd they go? So I'm gonna put the OG in the vise here so you can see it. So this one here, it's actually to be viewed like this because this is how it rides. And so we're gonna go over this a little bit. And so what I did here, and you'll see as I do it, I started with a gob of rubber legs all backwards, so they're all hanging out the end. And then I worked forward and I started layering it with these legs, and that was the whole concept. We were tying emu earlier, and I've got emu and ostrich going everywhere in here, so it's I'm covered in it. And so that's why I'm not supposed to touch my face or cough in my hand. I saw that on TV. So anyway, but what you see here is that the concept is to use the rubber legs, and because they're all curvy and like this, right? And so when I do this, I'm going to try to use those curves to my advantage. If I can, great. And I'm going to make this shell back with the rubber. It's indestructible at that point. I'm going to have a hot spot. I put the Coq de Leon in here, so it's just, that is such a sexy material. It just gives a hint of elegance to everything you put it in. It's just gorgeous. You can see just the little speckles to it. Then here's all the legs hanging out, and you got your bead head. And the thing about these things is that when you tie a fly on a jig hook or a vertical eye hook, the thing is that, and if it's an anchor like that really big one, wherever it is over there, if this is going down, you know your fly's riding in the proper position because it's coming off the top. It's physics. It's got to come off the top. If that was a hook that's like that, your fly could be riding sideways real easily. If you're drop shotting like I do a lot, where my lead's below, you know if you don't have a vertical ring eye, your fly's riding sideways. You can't stop it. So you know, any nymph you put on a traditional, let me grab one here, on a traditional hook like this, where it's horizontal, if I was to drop shot this fly, so I'm going to tie another, I'm going to have my leader here, my tag here, it's going to ride sideways like that the whole time. It has no option. You know, if you're checking, or if you're using this as an anchor fly, then it could still ride like it's supposed to, but you still have a chance of it going off to the side. And that's why I like the vertical ring eyes. This is the 1850 on some of them. Some of it's the 7052. That's that new trailer hook that we did for streamers in the back. They're almost out. You can get the identical size. It's just the 7052's got almost not quite a hook's width bigger gap. You can barely tell when you put them beside each other. I'm going to do this particular one on a number 6. If you were doing that, and I'll show that in a second, the correlated hook for the 7052 would be the number 3. So anyway, so we're going to wrap this forward. We're going to put all these elements in here. The flies, you can see it's got a palmered hackle through it. That's just to give you a little bit of segmentation to your body, and to give you, to cover it, gives a little bit of movement out of that hackle. But more than anything, it just looks really cool. I mean, this is a total, I did not make this fly to fish. I just literally sat down and said, I just want to tie something I've not seen. And I just came up with this thing right here. And so and then it ended up being really fishy. And so, which is cool. They don't always work that way. But you can see it's got a reflective body. It's all ice dub. It's a really fun fly, and I like I said when I did the streamer one, somebody will take this fly and run with it. I mean, there's some just super creative humans out there. All these flies that we're getting sent in for the competition are, man, there's just some really cool stuff. And so I'm sure somebody's going to fix this fly up and make it look really cool. So onward with the fly. 20 minutes to get through that. So, and I already talked about the hooks. I'm going to have 2 different hooks. You've either got a 1850, which is the vertical ring eye, or the 7052, either one. The 6 and the 3 correlate. And so I've tied this down to a size 12. It gets a little bit it gets a little close when you get into the small sizes. 6s and 8s have been fine, did some 4s, but that's the hook. And I'm going to show you how to bend the hook also, because we're getting a lot of questions, mostly about the dry fly bent hooks, but how we do them. The bead, I'm going to start at the hind end. You're going to use Spanflex or Flexi Floss or whatever one of these flosses you like to use for it. Color, it doesn't matter, because you're going to freestyle this thing. It doesn't matter. Do not recipe this fly. Do not ask me for the recipe. Look at it and freestyle it and make it your own. The body, because I don't know, because everyone's different. I mean, if you look at those, they're all different. And so the body on this particular one, I'm going to keep it kind of close to the original, is mostly tan, and then a little bit of peacock, or pheasant tail, put in here. And then it's going to have a hint of orange. And we get to the front, I'm going to have the hot spot, which is going to be tan. And then we're going to have the UV shrimp pink. I did it with orange. I've done it with peacock. There's one over there that's got like this one right here, which if Johnny will have time if I don't go too fast. You can see it's got peacock. This one's pure orange. Everyone's got a little bit of different on it. So, but they all just let it fly. Let it be what it is. On the hackle that goes through the bottom of that fly, on the OG here, put him back in there. On this hackle right here, I did, the original one was just this beat up old brown dyed, grizzly dyed brown. On this one, I don't know what I did with it, right there. This one right here, I put this same hackle but in burnt orange. And it looks really cool. I love that back. I'm going to do one like that in a minute after I do this one. And then, of course, we just got some Coq de Leon saddle. This is, I just think this is, this is the sexiest feather ever put on a fly. And you can do it, most people use this for tailing. You really should, if you do bird's nests or anything like the bigger wet flies, you have to have this stuff. It just dials the fly to another dimension. So, on we go. Now with the hook, again, this is a vertical ring eye, meaning that it goes this way instead of this way. And I'm going to show you how to bend the hook. And we get this question a lot on my dry fly, on my cripple that is bent like that. And so you're going to take this, and the key to these, when you do these, you can do it in your vise. If you do it, you can do it with pliers too. And it doesn't matter if you have jeweler's pliers, if they're round, that's nice if you've got it. It doesn't matter, but the key is that you can't grip this. You have to leave these, you can't get them tight, because when you do that, you're going to break the hook. So I just put this in the hook, in the vise, excuse me, and you can see it's loose, right? And so just come in there and about, you just kind of eyeballing it and just bend it. And on my cripples, on the dry flies, I do it twice. On this one, I just give it a pull and get it kind of like, that's about where I want it. Because when I did this thing, what I wanted was it to look like its hind end was kind of caught in the water and it was a little bit free, right? Its head was down like it was trying to get to the bottom. And so I wanted the legs down here and its hind end high up above it. So, back we go. Now, I'm going to use...
Don't forget your bead.
Oops, yeah. Don't forget your bead, Jeremy said. Good thing. That's why there's 3 or 4 of those, some of them are in there because they became drop shot flies because I forgot my bead. I wanted that just a little bit more bent. So I'm taking a 3/16. I don't know if I even showed that. I'm putting a bead on here. It's a 3/16 tungsten bead, black. I showed you a bunch of them that had the matte finish. It just, what you like the looks of. It's just cool. I'm doing them all of it. And then I'll put this bead on here and I'm going to look and see, okay, I like that. I'm going to give it a little bit bend, a little bit further back. And I just give myself a little bit more gap right there to fill with the thorax. But again, you're going to freestyle this and you can bend those a little bit once you're done. This is a lot of stuff in this fly to start bending it once it's done. So I would try to get this relatively close right now. And I'm using 50 GSP on my thread. You could go bigger on this one, it wouldn't hurt anything. I'm gonna start this right here, not that this is not a big deal. It's kind of just a habit that it's kind of like anything. You get in a habit of starting your thread where you want things to end, and you just don't get away from it. Now, I'm going to put a little tiny, and since there's no, you're freestyling it, but as you can see, I've got a nice taper to my body, and I've got a little tiny bump right here for the legs to separate, for the tail, I mean. And so this is, I'm going to give just a little bit of wax on that thread because I'm going to touch dub this in here. And because it's going to be blended, I'm not too worried about this one right here. This is going to be a very small little bump. And then I'll show you how I'm going to blend that in a second. But I like them to kind of hold true to themselves so it's not a different color back there. If you wanted to hot spot that back there, that'd be cool. You could make it like have a egg sac. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of, because I'm working with, this dubbing is really coarse. And so put a little wax on the thread just to hold it. And I want that to be a little bit down because when you look at these things, they ride like this, and I want its butt up, so I want that to be just a little bit down on the bend so the tail sticks straight up in the air, and just a nice little ball right there. We'll get to that in a minute. Now things get interesting. This is why I said I can tie this fly easier and faster if I do this thing without this style. This isn't about easy. This was about, can I come up with something I've never done or seen, and it ended up being kind of fun. If you do one, you did a fly that you just struggle with. You struggle and struggle and struggle. If you quit, you lose. If you keep going, you'll figure it out, you'll master it, you'll come up with a new technique, figuring out ways to use your hands around the hook, and it'll just, it will make you a better tire. I need that to be just a pretty flat, just so I can work this in. This is the hardest part of the fly. I started with just these are half the length of most of the span flex. And so I need this to be right where that bend starts. That bead's going to want to come down there. Just get a couple loose wraps around this stuff to start it. Don't worry about, it's not really even that critical where that is. And so what I do is I basically split this. I just did it kind of automatically. I'm basically trying to get 4 on each side. I didn't tell you how many. There's 8 strands. And so I start out and I just even pressure, not much tension on it. And as I come back, I start stretching this stuff out. And this is the hardest part of tying this whole fly. It's coming in here and wrapping. And you see how I'm wrapping? I'm going around with my bobbin, coming around that thing and back, and then I'm trying to split that and let them go even on both sides. I get back to that little ball of dubbing right there. And you don't get to go around like this. You've got to come around and just wait. You're going to nick that thread. Now, there's going to be, just for a minute, we're going to have a little bit better sight. We're going to look at this, and you're gonna look at the legs, and you're gonna find the one. Okay, I'm not quite far enough back, which I looked like I was in the other. And you can turn that over if it's easier for you to do this. You can turn it over right here, and just work around it. You're gonna cover most of that up. But now with it upside down, if you haven't got one off to the side, get one. Just pull it off to the side and cut this one off, not short. You're gonna have a nice long tail, and you're gonna look for the one like right there. That's the furthest one down. That's your legs, right? So just don't fight those. Now we're gonna take this. Oh, what do I do with my little beely wop? Come over here. Take that little clip and get all that stuff back there. You got your legs here. Everything's cool. All right. I forgot to say one thing that's in this fly. The counter rib, brassy, copper on this, whatever you like, whatever color. Use purple. Do something unique. It's freestyle week. I'm going to tie this in on the, just like you always would on the, I'm going to have it on the back side. So I've got a counter rib. This is going to lay over. I want it to be on the away side of me because that's going to give me I'm going to catch the hackle better. I'm going to fold that over just like we do on every fly I do. We do the same thing. You can just fold it over, take it about to the halfway point. You're just starting to build bulk and taper to your fly. And this is the, you see how I have to, I don't know, am I blocking that,
Nope.
Jeremy? I keep the bobbin kind of short and come in, I'm just working like this around it to get everything nice and close. And then you're tight out, you're tight. Everything, it's not that hard. It's just when you first start, you're gonna, and you're going around it and you're just fighting the thing to death. Now I'm gonna take, and again, I'll show you this underside. That was the original color. It's pretty much all UV tan, but I put just a little tiny bit of that pheasant tail in it, I think. I don't know. I did that thing 2 years ago. And so I'm gonna take this, and it's gonna have a taper to it because we want, everything's tapers. On a Stonefly, they don't have that much taper, to tell you the truth. Their hind ends are pretty, but it just doesn't look as good to me if I don't do that. And I'm pretty sure they don't get out there and start checking. So I'm gonna take this dubbing. It's pheasant tail ice dub and UV tan. And I'm gonna blend it around just a little bit. I don't really, if you don't want to put it in, don't put it. If you want to do the thing in it, whatever, like I said, we're just freestyling it. But I'm just going off, and when I do these, like I said, with these, I'll sit here like I did a whole series of Goldens, which are a little lighter, and then I did this Terranarsa, the big salmon fly, and I did them a little darker, and I did more peacock on them and stuff like that. It's just wing it. So, what did I do with my dubbing loop? We were tying caddis a minute ago, and I cleaned everything up. There it is. We don't usually get to tie all in the same day. So this is my dubbing loop. So we're going to have this thing relatively, like I said, relatively even. You don't have to have it. It's hard to see this color, I'm certain, but you can see how it's a little wider at the bottom than it is at the top. And I've got my dubbing loop formed, and I'm just going to put that in there. And you can see it hardly any taper to this. And so just get it close to your thread there. If you got a leg that's somewhere near this, you just kind of tip your vise so gravity keeps it away. Just start it, and I'm looking to see that, all right, everything's pretty clean. Yeah, just enough. And here's the beauty of this tool, or any, whatever you do. There's a little bit more brown right there than I liked. You can just release it, pull it out, start all over, go right back for it. Now I'm running 50 GSP, and I did a video the other day, and I was sitting here talking like I always do, blah blah blah, and I spun that, I broke it. And 50 GSP, even though it's almost impossible to break pulling it like that, when you twist this and twist it and twist it, if you twist it too much, you're going to end up breaking it'll break right here because it's getting so tight. So I'm going to pull this. So when I do this, I'm going to try to grab that, just because I know it's thin thread. I'm going to do my first turn right here, and I'm pulling it, but I'm pulling it more with my fingers than I am against the tool, just so I don't break it. Now I'm just go forward, nice even wraps, and getting a little bit of segmentation as I go because I've got that in a loop. Get right up here, right about to where we got to tie in all this stuff. We got to have room right here. And I like to go a little bit further than you think you need to, not right where you stop. So you see how I went into this just a little bit. I'm going to cover that with thread, but I like to work on that material. When I bring my materials over, I don't like to go to a bump. I like to have it level, so when I tie in the shell back with all that rubber, or Spanflex. I'm not worried about this bump here because I'm going to build it up. Where's your thorax is bigger than the abdomen. You can see it's the taper continues, right? So I'm going to come right over top of that so that when I come forward, it lays smooth on top of the other one. Now, hackle wise, again, I don't think, it doesn't really matter. I grabbed a grizzly. I don't want this really long. I want it kind of short, to tell you the truth. It just looks, you can see on this one that there's not much hackle back here. We're going to tie it in backwards, and so that, I'm just using this as a sample. That hackle's too big. No, it's not too big. You could use it easy if you wanted to. This was just an accent more than anything. So this one's a little closer to what I used on the original. We're going to tie it in backwards so that we get you're tying in from the butt. That's why we got the wire back here. That's our counter rib. We're going to tie this in. This is going to be our accent. You want the thickest part at the front. You're going to tie it in with the shiny side, the convex side to your right so that it lays back and reaches or marries itself right around the body. If you want it sparse, you could trim one side of this hackle off if you wanted. If you don't want it, if you want it really thin, if you just want a handful of them, that's completely up to you. It's freestyle week. So now we're just going to set our angle. Good there?
Yep.
And we're just going to go back, and it doesn't need to have a lot of turns. Just go back. I can tell you that this will fight you with that hook upside down. It will make you, it'll challenge you to get these things right. I got a little hackle right there stuck in there I don't like. Back. Oh my goodness, what I do with my hackle pliers? There you are, right where you belong. This is the new Stonefly hackle plier, at least it's new to me. I'm always looking for a new hackle plier. We've had this for a long time. I've never used it because I really love those tweezies. I'm starting to think this is my new favorite hackle plier. This thing, it just holds. So now I'm looking, something didn't look quite right here to me. I just need you to stay there. Now, you have to have a hackle plier right now because this is the perilous part of this whole fly. Is it currently that hackle is just sitting there. I've got a trapped hackle or two I'm just going to get rid of. Pull it off to the side. Pull you back down. See that one right there? Just kind of catching. All right, we're going to cover you up in a second. So now the reason this is a little perilous is that it's hanging there. It's just sitting back there. Before we got to put the rubber over top of this. So we've already pulled our legs, and now we're going to take all of this. You're going to look everything over, make sure it's where it belongs. You might want to separate these a little bit. You can even cut that hackle off if you want. I do it afterwards. So now we're going to pull. This is what's unique about this fly is that I'd never done this, and I wanted to use all my legs I wasn't going to add extra legs. And so I come in here, and you try to flatten this out as flat as you can get it. And just make one turn over the top. Just kind of hold everything in place. Look it over. Don't put a lot of pressure on your thread yet. So it just sits on top and move it around. See how I'm manipulating this stuff? I'm just squishing down on it like that. I'm getting it flat is all I'm doing. And I'm setting this up. So I've got it on my body that I left in there. Just getting things kind of where I want them, not really tight. I'm not so tight that everything's going to start, when I start ribbing this thing, it's with the counter rib, it's not going to turn over. It's not so loose that it's going to just flop over, but it's not so tight that it's stretching into anything. So now here's your hackle down here, the one that I had caught right there. So I'm going to capture that. Now we're good hit with him. And then just kind of look things over and just kind of even wraps coming forward. This is just for holding down the body. It's nice, even. These things will fight you a little bit. That's why I said this is like your learning tool of how do I stop all this stuff from fighting me. So now we're just going to come underneath here. Couple of those forward, break it off. Okay. At this point, I come in and I'm going to take that hackle out of there, obviously. And I'm just going to catch any of these things that are just don't like, if I don't like where it's sitting, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to move anything, if there's any caught, you can go back and do it later, but that's all right. It looks pretty good right there. Might be a little bit twisted. All right, so now this is where you can clip some of that up. Take the one that's closest, just like we did with the tail, you take the ones on the side and look and see if you can get them to, when you bring them back, we're going to have these two are going to come back. You're just kind of getting an idea where things are. Everything's, see how it's all laying together like that? That's great. That'll help them all come around and they'll act like they're supposed to in a second. Now I'm going to take this Coq de Leon. These feathers they are just so cool looking. I mean, you can put this in any fly and make it look good. And I don't need a lot of it, so I'm just gauging kind of how. That's totally up to you. You know, how far do you want that hackle to stick out? That looks great to me right there. Come in and just get rid of all the after shaft and the stuff that's not really speckly. Right in front of this, oh, excuse me, I didn't do what I was supposed to. Pull your leg back. I talked about that and then didn't do it. So you can pull your leg back, one on each side, the one closest to you. If you can, they might not. And it doesn't hurt to give it a little bit of a stretch on each side. Oh yeah, good job. We're gonna come right back into that body. Ooh, you got a catcher. I don't know about you, it's spring. My hands are shot from actually doing things. That's stuff Johnny doesn't do. He doesn't like to work. All right, so catch those. Now we can put our hackle in. This will be back covering it up a little bit. This is where things start to fight you. This is the fun part. It's starting to fight you and it's challenging you to do something you haven't done before. I'm gonna wrap that right against these legs. We want this to right against it, and there's no set turns. I don't care what it is. You want 10 turns, put 10 turns in. You want 3, put 3. I don't know. I just kind of turn it and then keep looking at it, going, okay, that's cool looking, that's cool. One more is cooler. Just catch that. We're going to push this all back with our hand and fingers in a second. So it's kind of all over the place right now. We're going to capture it. We're going to put our dubbing on there in a second. So I just try to get in here and get a hold of many of them as I can of the hackles. We're just going to go back over it. I think I got one fighting me there. You belong back there. Double check that you still got all of them. Just wrap that up. Okay, so now I'm double checking everything's there. I got a bad feeling about something on this one. I think when I was setting that all up, I think I shorted myself a leg. But that's all right. We'll fix that in a second. Okay. Pretend like you didn't see that. All right, I'm just trying to get this set because 2 of these have to come up here, and I've got a little build up here I don't particularly like. Right there, which is my body. Right there, I'm just trying to clean that up just a little bit. All right, Now, pretend you didn't see that. If you make a mistake, which is, God, that's like the second one this year for me. I think I did the last one, the last video. I cut one off or something there, I didn't see it, but I need 4 sitting here. So I said, this is harder than if you want to do it the other way. So, then you're getting up here and doing this. Now we're just gonna hotspot this. Same thing, not hotspot so much, this is the tan version. So, give me you. You are not set well. So we're gonna take we're gonna build this and I'm right where I belong. I'm right in the middle of this thing, but I screwed up and cut that leg off. Or I had 7 on when I started. I thought I counted 8, but. So I like to have the 2 that kind of hang out the front, just like he's doing. And what I do is I just put a turn of hackle right in front of it, just so I've got a little bit of visual. And then I come forward with the 2 antenna. These things will fight you for a minute. We'll get all that with our dubbing. Take this UV tan, and then I'm going to put just a touch of, UV shrimp paint, which is really orange to my eye. But I'm going to have very, very little of that in there. I've got too much, so I'm going to add a little bit more of this tan to it. And we're going to make this is going to be kind of a bulbous, it's got to be thicker than your abdomen. And we're just going to, I don't know, just kind of, it's going to be a little oranger than maybe it needs to be. So, while you're fighting me, just to eliminate a couple of, I'm going to take my straw. Who's bleeding? It's probably not the fly. That would mean it's me. Just going to get these back here. That straw shot. And this'll, lots of legs going all over the place here. Just get one set back there. I'm not sure where I'm bleeding out of, but my flies are getting a unique tone to them. There you are. So one more time. I really am seeing more orange in here than I intended. More tan. It's all personal. It's recipe-less week. So this one's I'm just going to get that out of the way. We've got our hackle covered up. These are they'll try to catch into that stuff. That's why you lean it to where you're not fighting it. So I haven't really tightened this down completely, so I loosened it up a little bit. I just got it a little bit even in the loop, so so it's fatter. So now we're just going to go around it, and we're going to push into the hackle, and even though it's covered up right now, go right tight to it. That looks good. It's a little bit bigger than the abdomen. Hey, come off of there. That's a bump. See how that thing fell off of there? Oh, God, that's sloppy. That's sloppy. So now I got to come back. I don't like that. I'm going to loosen my loop up a little bit. And I'm gonna come forward. I've got a bump. That's what I'm always talking about. Don't have humps and bumps. And I'm gonna loosen my dubbing loop up just a little bit, so it's not quite so stranded. And I'm gonna get one good set right there. Come in front of it. It's really, once you've got one of those bumps, man, it's a pain in the butt. All right, I'm fighting them. Now we're gonna have one there, there's our leg there, there's our leg over there. Just this thing, like I said, it's fighting me All because of that stupid bump. I got a bump right there, and I didn't fix it to start. So it's fighting me. And then I broke my loop. Oh, this is beautiful. All the things that can go wrong are going wrong, which, believe it or not, people like more than they like when it all goes right. I'm so glad you screwed your fly up. So now I'm getting these things right out the front. Cut my little hot spot off. Come in here, go right in front of these legs. We're going to push these back just a little bit. These are supposed to stand up in the air, so they're doing what they're supposed to. Pull them off to the side like that. Just get them where you want them. They're just free floating in there right now, so you can grab them and go. You loop right in front of it, right in front of the bead. Pop that off. Voila. Now we got legs everywhere. That bump, you know, when I talk about that, you're always fighting these bumps if you leave one in. And I thought I could, typically, I thought I could get away with it. I really did. I didn't think it was going to show up. I thought I could get away with it, and it just fought the hell out of me. So I'm going to fuzz this out just a little bit. Not much. It'll get fuzzy as you fish it. You can see that, but man, that is such a hack job. When you can see that right there, I should be caned. That's so bad. So now we're going to take these. We're going to come in here and just figure out. I keep them really long. I keep these legs really long. And then I just cut them as I'm on the river. Where are you? So there's those two. They're going all over the place as they're intended to. The idea is that with these things is that they're down there. They kind of, if you've ever seen them, they kind of run all over the place with their legs. And I just kind of get them to look wiggly. Usually make the front ones a little bit shorter. But that's it. Legs, tails are a little long right now still. That's okay. If you notice all these, everything's longer than it really probably should be, right? It's just, you can always trim them, but if they'll eat it with all that wiggle, that much better. So, everything that's kind of, haven't tied one of these for a while. It's kind of sloppy, but it's going to make it through. I'll get more comments. So glad that I screwed that fly up, which makes me laugh. So everything's good. Legs are all over the place. You got a nice clean hot spot. Not hardly. It's got a bump in it. What a hack job. So that is the Corona Stoner. Everything's all over the place. Again, the whole deal with this is this whole series is about freestyling your flies and making them your own. Try something you've not tried before. When you send your flies in, we say it every time, you got to send us the fly. The address is on the link that you're looking at. You'll see it. You have 2 weeks from the first day. So the first one airs on Monday or Tuesday of the week. You got 2 weeks to get us your flies. Has to be of this genre. It's got, this is nymphs. Doesn't matter what nymph it is, but freestyle it. Do something, just do something unique. It doesn't matter. Do something that makes it your own, and send it in, and we'll let you know. As with all of these, whoever wins this category, so we've had terrestrial, streamer, this is nymph. We keep going until this thing is over, till the shutdown is over for the most of us. And then we just, every person, every category wins a $250 gift certificate at the very end. Whoever wins the overall, which will judge off all the entries, is going to win a Maverick or Payload Sage Fly Rod, or a presentation or Renzetti Vise of your choice in the 1,000 categories. So, hope that helped you out. I hope you enjoyed me screwing up my thorax. I'm going to get a lot of comments on that. Stay healthy. Thanks.